Hello everyone! Let's discuss those crazy new Superheavy Samurai support cards. Let's start with the simple ones and work our way up to those crazy game-warping pendulum monsters. Let's start with Soul Gaia Booster. It's a Superheavy Samurai Soul monster just like Claw or Horns, and it can summon itself for free without locking you into Superheavy Samurais. Probably won't be used for its equip effect, which turns the equipped monster into a tuner. That just seems too expensive a way to get a tuner onto the field, but maybe there's some niche combo where it gets you to a particular boss that you couldn't normally do, so I wouldn't rule it out. Next up is Spy. I think a lot of people are overlooking this one. So this one can special summon itself from the hand for free, and unlike other ones that do the same thing that we already have, this one does not lock you into Super Heavy Samurais. This is pretty similar to Soul Horns and Soul Claw again, but unlike those cards, you don't have to control a Super Heavy Samurai already in order to get it onto the field. It also has a quick effect on the field to steal a spell and trap from the opponent's graveyard, just like Susanoo would do. This probably won't come up. It's never really been a great effect. It's a very fun effect, taking cards from your opponent's graveyard to your field. But it's not really that impactful. A lot of the spells and traps your opponent's going to be playing are going to be specific to their archetype, so most of the time you won't be able to use them for yourself. Still, summoning itself for free makes this a pretty good card. Next up we have Super Heavy Samurai Bike. This is a rotor for the entire archetype, so you'll play it at 3 just for that. But it's got more utility still on top of that. It's a tuner, and it has an on-field effect to increase a monster's level by 2, which is very interesting. The only problem is getting it onto the field, where it has no means of doing that for itself, so it needs a bit of help. Being level 2, it can be summoned from the graveyard with Sprite Elf. You're probably not going to have this in your hands. You can just discard it to search for another card. So getting into the graveyard's not a problem. Also, Axel Synchro Stardust Dragon can summon this from the grave as well. Yeah, crazy good card. Instant 3 off. And now we're moving on to the Pendulum monsters. So first up we have Super Heavy Samurai Monk Warrior Big Benkei. And this guy's Clifford Scout. He's not once per turn, but other than that, he's Clifford Scout. He also does have a trivial requirement that you control a Super Heavy Samurai. It can summon itself from the hand just by sending the original Benkei from the hand or deck to the graveyard, making Benkei a kind of garnet. This might come up. It's not great. Having this on the field isn't brilliant because they neglected to give it the ability to attack while in defense position. So it's just a level 8 big body. If you do use it for a Synchro Summon, you can put it back in the scales where it belongs. So that's good. Another downside is that it is level 8, and the highest our in-archetype scales go is 8, so you can't pendulum summon this guy. So if it goes to the extra deck, it's going to be stuck there, which is quite a bit of a shame. And now the big one. Super Heavy Samurai Prodigy Wakoshi. This card is Monkey Board, Curtain Raiser, and Summon a Monk all at the same time. So it can special summon itself from the hand and search another pendulum monster at the same time. This can't be ashed, it doesn't lock you into the archetype, just requires you to have no spells or traps in the graveyard. That's a good enough effect to get it put into other decks than Super Heavy Samurai, which, wow. If you think the spell and trap requirement is going to be too much to work around, you just look at Adamancipator, that we're playing that one Madolche Petting Cesur, which requires you to have no monsters in the grave. They were definitely playing monsters. But once you've got it on the field, it can discard a card from your hand to special summon another Super Heavy Samurai from your deck. This one does Xenolock you, so if you're splashing this card in other decks, you probably won't be going for that one. But in Archetype, this is crazy. It doesn't have a restriction on level, so you can just pull a level 8 monster straight from the deck. And on top of it all off, it's a tuner. Did I not mention that? And then that's crazy. Summoning itself from the scale doesn't lock you into the Archetype. You can use this to flex more generic, powerful cards, because our Synchro is still a little bit lacking. And when you do use it for a Synchro Summon, it will return itself to the scales, ready to be used for a Pendulum Summon. Or you can just let it go to the extra deck and naturally summon it, because this one is level 4, meaning it fits between our scales, and we can finally actually Pendulum Summon from the extra deck. Thank goodness. Okay, there is a downside with this card. And that is that you do need to have another Pendulum monster in your deck, not your hand, in order to use its Pendulum effect. So if you draw, or mill, or use up all of your other Pendulum monsters, you won't be able to use this effect anymore. It also needs you to have your other scale empty, so Using this later on is a bit trickier. Still a crazy card. Let's have a look at the extra deck. We have 2 new cards in the extra deck. The first one I'm going to look at is General Shanao. This is a generic level 8 synchro, so you don't have to necessarily use machine or super heavy samurai tuners or non-tuners. It has the effect which lets it special summon another super heavy samurai during the battle phase, which could come in handy for OTKs, potentially. Currently, on EDO Pro, it will allow you to use this effect while your scales are full. I'm not sure if that's correct. When you do that, this monster stays on the field, which could mean you could use it turn after turn. I'm not entirely sure if that will be the correct ruling. But once it's in the scales, it has an effect similar to Giga Gloves, where an attacking monster gets its attack set to 0, also negates its effect, and those changes are permanent. But your opponent will just pop this. Unlike Giga Gloves, which activates in the graveyard, it's hard to play around and hard to see coming. This is just there on the field, and then once it's destroyed and it's in the extra deck, because it's level 8 and our scales don't go that high, you can't get it back out. Real shame, once again. And finally, we have Tenjin Masurao. This is a generic level 12 synchro, so once again, don't necessarily have to use super heavy samurai tuners and non-tuners. It provides you destruction protection for all of your super heavy samurai monsters. If they would be destroyed, you just destroy a different card instead. So you can destroy your scales, which might still be up, or a equip spell. So protecting this by destroying a drum could be really crazy. On top of that, it gives you draw up to 3 cards every turn when your opponent activates a spell or trap. This is a pretty interesting effect. You've got to be able to empty your hand during your turn and then refill it with this. This effect, it activates in a similar way to Kastra Fenrir, in that it activates on a new chain after the activation conditions have been met. This is indifferent to, say, like a Paleozoic or Thunder Dragon Titan, which needs to respond directly to the thing that triggered it. This will activate in a new chain, so it can't be chain blocked, but if the thing you're responding to ends up removing this from the field, you won't be able to activate. So if they use, say, Change of Heart or Psychic Eraser Laser, your monster will have left the field and it won't be able to activate on the new chain. All in all, the synchro monsters are slightly disappointing, but they are very on brand. They have big stats and they hit hard, but they do not do much in the way of slowing down your opponent. So final thoughts, this whole wave of support is amazing. It raises the ceiling of our combos substantially and improves our consistency in getting to those combos. It's no longer draw, Soul Piercer, or die trying. You no longer have to resort to crazy rank 5 turbo strategies in order to search it. The synchros, as I said, are a little bit of a letdown, but there are fewer Xenolocks in our main deck monsters, which should let us get to some generic powerful monsters like Barons of Floor or Borrelode Savage Dragon. So on top of that, we have a bit of a less of a reliance on our normal summon. Before, if you normal summoned Wagon and it got destroyed, that would be the end of your turn, but now we have Prodigy and Spy who can summon themselves to an empty board, and you can continue playing from there. Alright, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. This is absolutely amazing. The deck is going to be unrecognizable, to be honest, once this support is released. And we'll probably come up with some combos and update some deck lists in the near future. I'll see you guys then. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye!